It's me, the Flame Swordsman. But oh no, I'm not strong enough to defeat that enemy. I'll need to equip something. Perfect! But I still lack the strength. I'll equip one more monster. Oh, alright, let's beat the fuck out this. Good afternoon, jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. Well, it's release weekend for Maze of Millennia, which seems out of season to me. If we're going to be cracking open some worthless plastic in search of one specific treat, Bonfire, the least they could have done is release this during Easter. We've already taken a look at one of the two archetypes debuting in the set, Earthbound Prisoner, and now it's time to take a look at the TCG exclusive. Presenting Flame Swordsman.
Folks, we have a winner.
So here's the list. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is the #1 place to go if you need a pack simulator, a card database, or want to read a wealth of strategy articles. They also post breakdowns and lists from every major TCG and Master Duel tournament, including the Master Circuit series. Give them a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. With that, let's figure out Flame Swordsman. Flame Swordsman is a fusion archetype based on shitty DM monsters debuting in a maze set, which, I mean, if I had a nickel, I'd have 2 nickels, etc. Unlike Gate Guardian, however, Konami saw fit to make this retrain a little more, well, trained. Don't let the Joey branding blind you. This deck's anything but inconsistent. The strategy has access to a ton of one-card combos, mostly aided by fighting Flame Swordsmen. By weaving your way through a whole host of new flaming men, you can with almost 100% certainty end on access to Ultimate Flame Swordsman, a more masculine Trident, and Salamandra with Chain, a more masculine Kunai. But despite the lessons you may have learned from Zoo format, one repeatable single-target pop does not a top deck make, no matter how much non-engine you jam into it. We'll have to examine what Flame Swordsman accomplishes and see if it can be supplemented by a secondary archetype. And look at that, there's actually already an entire series of Fire Warriors that use monsters as equip spells. By supplementing the Flame Swordsman with INFERNOBLEs, we can easily make use of some of the best performing cards of 2023, insulating our end boards with some incredible spell and trap negation, as well as finding a home for the now Isoldless King of the Franks. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up, the Flame Swordsman. Fighting Flame Swordsman is a card we are playing 3 of. If it's normal or special summoned, you can add a spell trap that shouts out Flame Swordsman from your deck to your hand, and if it's sent to the graveyard, you can send a Flame Swordsman or a monster that shouts it out from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard, except for itself. We've also got Salamandra, the Flying Flame Dragon. While this card is equipped to a Flame Swordsman or a monster that mentions it, the equipped monster gains 700, and once per turn if this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can target a warrior monster you control, equip this card to that monster you control as an equip spell. When sent to the graveyard, you can add a Salamandra spell trap from your deck to your hand. After that, we've got 3 Diabellstar and our INFERNOBLEs, one piece of Ogier, Maugus, Turpin, Olivier, Reynaud, and Ricardetto. We're also playing Immortal Phoenix Gearfried just because he synergizes extremely well with just about everything. Next, we've got our spells. We'll begin with the Flame Swordsman ones. We're playing 3 copies of Fighting Flame Sword, which allows you to activate one of these effects, add a card from your deck to your hand that shouts out Flame Swordsman, or, if you've already got everything you need, when an attack is declared involving a Fire Warrior monster you control, target a card on the field, destroy it, or, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Flame Swordsman or a monster that shouts it out, negate that effect. We've got 1 copy of Flame Sword's Realm, which is a continuous spell. That means your opponent can't activate cards or effects when you normal summon a Fire Warrior monster. Then once per turn allows you to send a monster from your hand or face of field to the graveyard to special summon a Flame Swordsman from your extra deck, and this is treated as a fusion summon. When a monster declares an attack once per turn, you can target a warrior you control. It loses 1,000 attack, but all other monsters you gain 1,000. We have Salamandra Fusion as well. This is an equip spell, which can only be equipped to a Fire Warrior monster and gives it 700 attack, and if it would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy this instead. While this is equipped to a fusion monster, you can send this card and the equipped monster to the graveyard to special summon a Flame Swordsman or a fusion monster that shouts it out, and this is treated as a fusion summon. After that, we've got our Diabellstar stuff, 3 copies of a Wanted, 1 copy of Original Sinful Spoils Snake Eye, and our INFERNOBLE stuff, 3 copies of Noble Arms Museum, 2 Durandal, 1 Almas, and a Rota. Finally, bringing up the end of the list, we have a Salamandra Salamandra with Chain. Target a fire monster on the field, equip this card to it as an equip card that gives it 700 attack, then change an effect monster on the field to face down defense position. You can banish this from your graveyard to fusion summon a fire warrior or dragon fusion monster from your extra by shuffling materials from your hand, field, or graveyard into the deck, but destroy it during the end phase. For non-engine, we're playing 3 copies of Ash, 3 copies of Bell, 2 Cash Tier of Fenrir, and a Called by the Grave. In the extra, we've got Ultimate Flame Swordsman. This can be made with Flame Swordsman and Fighting Flame Dragon. You can target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it, and if you do, inflict 500 damage to them. This is a quick if it's equipped with an equip card, and at the start of the damage step, if it battles, you can double this card's attack until the end of the turn, but destroy it during the end phase. We've got a Vanilla Flame Swordsman and a Fighting Flame Dragon, which can be made with a Dragon monster and a Fire Warrior, and except during the damage step, as a quick, you can target a Warrior Fusion monster you control, equip this card from your field to graveyard to that monster. That's a once per turn, and while this is equipped to a Flame Swordsman or a monster that shouts it out, it gains 700 attack and can make a second attack during each battle phase. For synchros, we've got Baron de Fleur, INFERNOBLE Knight Emperor Charles, Roland, Angelica, Typhon, and then our links, an SP Little Knight, a Ferocious Flame Swordsman, which is actually on theme in this strategy, an IP Masquerena, and 2 of Charlemagne. In the side, of course, we have 3 copies of Soul Release, 3 copies of Evenly Matched, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, 3 copies of Nibiru, and 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Centurion, and is that a chill Evol package I see in there? God, we'll do anything to play Sinful Spoils Snake Eye, huh? Well, our hand looks pretty good. We're going to begin with a copy of Diabellstar. That'll be activated here to get a copy of Snake Eye ourselves. Then we'll normal summon a Fighting Flame Swordsman. We'll grab the Flame Swords Realm, then activate it, activating its effect, pitching this Ash to summon a Flame Swordsman. We'll go IP Masquerena, then activating Fighting Flame Swordsman in grave in order to send Salamandra for Salamandra. We will go Sinful Spoils Snake Eye, setting the Swords Realm for a Ricardetto. Then we'll activate Ricardetto, bringing back this Ogier. From here, we can activate the effect of the Ogier in order to send a copy of Turpin. Then we'll go into an Angelica. Angelica effect to grab a copy of the Museum, then activate the Fighting Flame Dragon Salamandra in order to trigger the Angelica to go into Roland. From here, we can make a Baron de Fleur and then fire off the Noble Arms Museum. Sorry, sucker, you missed your chance to activate Nibiru. We'll go for Durandal, targeting this copy of Baron de Fleur, then we'll activate the effect of the Turpin in Graveyard, summoning itself back, and the Durandal in order to grab from deck to hand a copy of Renowned. We'll go Ogier, targeting the Turpin, and then Noble Arms Museum to summon that Ogier out. Afterwards, we're going to special summon this copy of Renowned and cycle back this copy of GPG. From here, we're going to go into Charles. Charles equipped with a Ricardetto, which allows us to go into Charlemagne. That's going to equip to it a copy of Charles, which we can summon back out with the Noble Arms Museum because someone forgot to put once per turns on this card. Next, we're going to activate Almas, targeting this copy of Charles, so we can then go into a second Charlemagne, activate its effect once again, and the effect of Almas in order to grab back this Ricardetto and equip this copy of Emperor Charles. Let's go GPG, set 1, and pass, with the Angelica coming back at the end step, and the Emperor Charles equipping a Fighting Flame Swordsman from deck. Our opponent's going to lead with a copy of Bonfire, then fire off Populace. From here, they're going to activate the effect of the Populace, which we will allow to resolve, and they're going to get, Subversion. That's kind of cool. We're going to negate it with one of our Charlemagnes. It'll trigger the effect of the Fighting Flame Swordsman in order to send the Dragon. We're going to go for the Roland in Graveyard as a quick, which allows us to activate the effect of the Charlemagne in order to get rid of this Anima. They're going to go for the Sinful Spoil Snake Eye for Ash here, then activate the effect of the Ash in order to grab from deck to hand, a Kurikara that will eat our board alive. We will go for our equip effect to get back Turpin. They'll go to battle phase, but unfortunately that's checked by our Salamandra with Chain. They do get to eat the IP Masquerena, but the Primera will be checked by the Gearfried, and then the Salamandra with Chain can fusion summon a copy of Ultimate Flame Swordsman to reserve us another pop. They will go Tactics Thrust in order to get Tactics Talents, and they will try to take control of a monster, which will be checked by the Baron de Fleur. They'll scoop here, and we will take the W. One of the major benefits to playing a fire strategy right now is the card economy is so good. Each individual card in your hand demands an answer, which can really come in handy when you're playing against a control deck. Our opponent for game 2 is on Lair of Darkness. Let's see what they accomplish. Yeah, that's pretty much what I expected. We draw for turn. Let's see what we can push through. First, we're going to begin with a copy of Noble Arms Museum. That's going to grab from deck to hand a Durandal. Next, we're going to go for the effect of our Diabellstar, summoning it. They're going to activate I am losing my board to this metaverse. At resolution, they can activate Ballista Squad, tributing our monster via the effect of the Lair of Darkness and the Sinful Spoil Snake Eye. But we still sort of get to resolve it because Sinful Spoil Snake Eye is not a balanced card. We'll go for Swords Realm here for Flame Swordsman, then equip it with a Durandal. We'll activate the effect of the Durandal in order to grab from deck to hand an Ogier. We'll normal summon that Ogier, then activate the effect in order to send a Turpin to the graveyard, targeting the Ogier, and then making a Charles. We'll trigger the effect of the Ogier to equip itself to the Charles, then the Charles effect in order to get rid of the Lair before we make Charlemagne. Charlemagne will check one of the back row. We'll go for Noble Arms Museum to summon back this copy of Charles and equip the Charlemagne with the Salamandra fusion. We'll negate the Waybridge, but they do get to resolve the Trap Trick here for a Fiend Griefing. No big deal, actually. We'll just go to battle phase and get in for 35, and what do you know? Swords Realm puts him at 45, which is lethal. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's on, what else? Snake Eye Fire King. Our hand is a little clunky, but still does have a lot of plays. Our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Ponix. They will activate the effect in order to grab a Sanctuary. They'll fire off the Sanctuary, and then fire off the FKI, 2 of in this strategy now. They're going to get Garunix and activate the Garunix, summoning it to their side of the field, then activating the on-field effect in order to send a Bayrong, setting 1 and passing. We draw for turn. Ooh, Fenrir's nice. They're going to go for Ponix here in standby, followed up with Bayrong in order to grab a Kieran. In main 1, we're going to special summon the Fenrir and go for a Diabellstar, activating its effect, at which point our opponent will effect Veiler, targeting the Fenrir here. Unfortunately, that is really what they have to do. They're going to go Immolation afterwards, popping the Garunix, which triggers the Ponix in hand. They'll go for the Ponix effect in order to grab a circle, and we'll go for Noble Arms Museum. I'm hoping the shields are mostly down. We do have to deal with the Kieran, but that seems to be about it. We're going to go for the Durandal here in order to grab the legendary Fighting Flame Swordsman. We'll activate the effect and then activate the Flame Swords Realm, at which point our opponent will fire off the Kieran. They're going to go for the effect of the Garunix in Graveyard, but thankfully we do have the Ghost Bell to check that, so it should be smooth sailing from this position. We'll go Swords Realm for the fusion, then activate Fighting Flame to send Salamandra effect in order to grab Purple Salamandra to hand. Then we can go for Snake Eye, sending the negated copy of Fenrir to get Ricardetto. That's going to bring back the Fighting Flame Swordsman, which gets into Angelica, and now we are off to the races for Infernobles. We're going to go for Wanted here to draw a card. That's a nice one. We'll trigger the effect of the Angelica by activating one of the effects in the graveyard. Then we'll go for Roland. We'll go Olivier, target this Flame Swordsman, and then we'll use the museum to bring back the Olivier, which is, thankfully, 9 stars worth of material. Down comes Charles. We will go for the museum again. We'll get Almas this time. We'll activate Almas, targeting this copy of Charles. Then, of course, we can activate the Charles in order to pop this copy of Sanctuary. Let's go into Charlemagne, then we'll activate its effect in order to equip, of course. We will get our copy of Olivier back, then activate Museum once again to bring out Charles, then Olivier in order to summon itself, and Synchro for a Baron de Fleur. Turpin, target the Charlemagne, and we should be good to go. Let's pop the Kieran and negate its effect in the graveyard before going to battle phase and getting in for well over lethal. So it's time for game 2, and oh god, this hand looks unbeatable. Well, we do have a Ghost Bell, and that's got Flamberge's name written all over it, but outside of that, we don't have much. They're going to begin with a copy of Wanted in the draw step, then in main, they're going to normal summon this copy of Ash. Side note, we can't really call this guy Ash, right? There's already an Ash in the format, and the Ash occasionally will get activated against the Ash. We can't call it Snake Eye, because there's like 3 playable Snake Eyes. I've been calling it Snash, but I hope that is fine. Oak here is going to revive the Snash. We'll activate the effect of the Oak in order to summon a copy of Flamberge, and then afterwards we'll go for the Sinful Spoil Snake Eye to get a Ponix from deck. From here we can activate Ponix to CL1, and Flamberge is CL2, thank you very much, which allows us to go for the Ghost Bell, at which point our opponent's going to activate this copy of FKI. They will destroy a Fire King monster on their side of the field and grab themselves a copy of Garunix that will trigger, and then afterwards they'll go for the effect of Garunix in order to send an Arvata. Oh no. They're going to summon back this copy of Ponix and then fire off the Circle of the Fire Kings. That will enable them to get the Arvata on field, then activate the Graveyard effect of this Wanted for a bonfire. Next out comes Diabellstar and IP Masquerena, which enables a summon of Promethean Princess, Bestower of Flames. Back comes the Flamberge. Let's go ahead and put that copy of IP Masquerena in the back row. Then on our turn, they're going to summon it back out. Amber Whale is probably unbeatable from this position, but I guess we can try. We're going to begin with a copy of Noble Arms Museum. We'll activate the effect. We'll take 12 here in order to grab from deck to hand to Durandal. We'll activate Durandal, targeting the Ambler Whale. Our opponent's going to go for the Masquerena into an SP, then activate SP to banish this copy of Durandal. Okay, there is just no way. Let's just go next, huh? So it's time for that all-important game 3, and ooh, 2 hand traps in our opponent's grip, but the rest looks pretty beatable. As long as we can end on something even remotely respectable, I think we've got this. We're going to begin with a copy of Fenrir and follow it up with a Fighting Flame Swordsman. Our opponent will imperm this. That's no big deal because we do have Noble Arms Museum. We'll go for the effect, and we probably need them to Ash this. Thankfully, they do, and we have the Durandal in grip, so we'll fire that, targeting our copy of Fighting Flame Swordsman, then activating the effect to grab a Raynaud to hand. From here, we can special summon the Raynaud, use its effect, targeting this copy of Durandal, adding it back to hand, and making an Angelica. Angelica and Fighting Flame Swordsman will trigger in sequence here, sending a Salamandra and getting ourselves a copy of Noble Arms Museum. Salamandra for Salamandra, then Salamandra targeting the Angelica triggers its effect, which allows us to bin a copy of Ogier and get a copy of Roland to our side of the field. Ogier effect targeting the Roland. We will then cycle out this copy of Museum, activate Museum, targeting the Ogier after adding an Almas to hand, so we can summon it and trigger its on-field effect in order to get a Turpin out of our deck. From here, we can go into Charles, activate Durandal, targeting the Fenrir, then go for Turpin, targeting the Charles, and then we can go for GPG, summoning itself and retaining a negate for the rest of the game. We'll go for Roland, targeting the Gearfried, and down comes becomes Charlemagne, Charlemagne for this copy of Charles, then finally Fenrir in order to grab Fenrir. We were really scared of Droll for this setup, as you may have expected. And speak of the devil, and he shall appear. A little late, buddy, unfortunately. They're going to go for a Ponix here that's going to grab them a Sanctuary, but not before we're able to use Fenrir to target Ponix in order to force out this copy of Immolation. That does necessitate the Charlemagne from us, but it also allows us to trigger this copy of Fighting Flame Swordsman. They'll go for Sanctuary for FKI. FKI to summon, which we will allow to resolve for that reason. Oh, it's because it's a Typhon setup. No big deal. That's checked by Salamander with Chain, and as we trigger the effect of our Charlemagne afterwards, our opponent will scoop him up. So we're back with the deck, and wow, I guess you shouldn't ever count out Charlemagne. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. The Flame Swordsman engine gives you access to a bunch of extra pieces that make comboing with your other engines a lot easier. A level 4 Fire Warrior for setup combos, a level 5 Fire Warrior for an earlier Baron, a free equipped Proc Angelica, an extra Book of Moon on the end board. It's nice. 2, if needs be, you can play low to the ground using just the Flame Swordsman pieces to make a quick effect pop from just the level 4 Flame Swordsman alone. If you're bricking on anything, it's going to be non-engine, so grip a handful of Ghost Girls and hope for the best. And 3, both Diabel and Flame Swordsman have quick play rotas, meaning you can search all of their pieces for combo before a Droll could ever be activated. And the cons. 1, the Flame Swordsman engine doesn't connect to INFERNOBLE on its own, so you're going to have to see at least one other piece of the engine to get into your full combo. 2, the deck has slightly less space for non-engine than pure INFERNOBLE, so often you are going to struggle to go second. And 3, the Flame Swordsman engine requires a few one-ofs that can be dead in hand if drawn. They're mostly not hard garnets, but the difference between a 5-card hand and a 3-card hand is pretty stark this format. Overall, this is a great start for an engine with a lot of application throughout the format. Turns out it's a good time to be a Fire Warrior. So that's that. Thanks so much for watching. These 10-minute testings are functionally subsidized by and frequently suggested by my patrons, including the ones you see in front of you. I want to give a quick shout out to the following: Elena Tincher, Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, Brett Henry, Canner, Darkmaster Zork, Derpin Dragon, Devin Senpai, DJ Elephant, Enraged Peacock, Gravity, John Piet, Juan Cruz Avila Zati, Night Mary, Legal Rights, Lockstone, Luis Hernandez, Matthew M. Derezo, MBT Play Medolce, Melfi Stan, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Puffins of Doom, Rose Lapine, Solar Flare the Ricka Queen, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Vincent Storm, Who's Nick, Wonder Waffle, and Yuki. I couldn't have done it without you.